Tara's breath quickened as she stood frozen, the weight of the moment crashing down on her. She had just learned that everything she thought she knew about her life, about Victor, was a lie. But it wasn't over. Just when she thought she had escaped, another voice cut through the tension. Brandon's voice echoed through the park. "You think you're done with this, Tara?" His shadow loomed closer, his men surrounding her. "You've already been marked. There's no getting out now." Tara's heart raced as she turned, only to see Dylan standing there, his face full of regret and something darker. "Let her go," Dylan shouted, stepping forward. Tara's pulse raced. Was he here to help, or was he just another part of the game? Then the chilling words hit her like a hammer. "You've been played all along, Tara." Tara Montgomery shifted nervously on the worn-out rubber mat of the grocery store's checkout lane. Her two kids, Liam and Ella, were quietly waiting by her side, their little hands gripping a bag of candy they'd picked up from the impulse buy shelf. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as the conveyor belt moved steadily, and the cashier began to scan the items one by one. Tara tried to push back the anxiety rising in her chest. It had been a tough month. Again, the bills were piling up, and between her two jobs, there never seemed to be enough hours in the day to keep up. Today was supposed to be a relief. She was finally going to treat her kids to some fresh groceries after a week of scraping by on leftovers. But as the total flashed across the register screen, Tara felt her stomach drop. $122.35, the cashier said, looking up at her with a neutral expression. Tara hesitated and slid her card into the reader. Her fingers shook slightly as she typed in her PIN. The terminal blinked a few times before the screen went cold. A moment of silence passed, and then a red notification flashed. Transaction declined. Tara's heart pounded. She tried again, her mind racing. The cashier's eyes flicked to the line behind her, the growing impatience of the people waiting. "Ma'am?" the cashier asked, a bit louder now. Tara could feel the heat rising in her face. She glanced back at the line, feeling the tension growing behind her. She could hear the sighs, the frustrated glances, but it was the sound of someone behind her speaking up that caught her attention. "Is everything okay?" a deep voice asked. Tara turned only to be met by the kind yet slightly curious gaze of a man standing behind her in line. He was dressed casually, in jeans and a leather jacket, his dark hair slightly disheveled. Yes, I'm sorry. I think I may have hit the wrong PIN number," Tara stammered, her cheeks burning. "It's okay," the man said with a reassuring smile. "It happens. Do you need help?" Tara blinked in surprise. "Help?" Before she could respond, the man stepped forward, pulling out a credit card from his wallet and handing it to the cashier. "I'll cover her total," he said, voice firm but not unkind. "It's no problem." Tara's throat dried. I can't let you do that," she protested. The man held up a hand. "It's already done. Don't worry about it." He looked at Tara and gave a small, cryptic smile. As the cashier finalized the transaction, Tara was left staring at the man, unsure of what had just happened. She glanced down at the receipt. The name on the card was Dylan West. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaky. But before she could say anything else, Dylan turned and walked out of the store without another word. Tara stood frozen, holding her receipt, 1,000 thoughts spinning in her head. Who was this man? Why had he helped her? And why did it feel like there was something more behind his sudden generosity? That night, as Tara sat on the couch trying to relax, her phone buzzed. The caller ID was blocked, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. She answered. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was deep but familiar, though Tara couldn't place it immediately. "This is Dylan West. We need to talk." Tara's stomach dropped. "Why are you calling me?" she asked, her pulse racing. Dylan's tone was casual, but there was an undercurrent of something darker. "I don't think you realize how important this conversation is. Meet me tomorrow and we'll go over everything. But before you make any decisions, you should know. I know who you are." The following morning, Tara sat at her kitchen table, her mind racing. She hadn't slept well, the phone call from Dylan West echoing in her thoughts. Who was he really? How did he know her name? And why had he helped her with my groceries? Her hands trembled as she stirred her coffee, trying to make sense of it all. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than simple charity. But what could it be? Tara took a deep breath, grabbed her purse, and reluctantly headed out the door. She had to meet Dylan. There was no way around it. The meeting place was a coffee shop in downtown Phoenix, a quiet corner spot near the city's bustling arts district. As Tara walked in, she scanned the room, her eyes landing on a man sitting by the window. Dylan. He looked up as she entered, his expression unreadable. Tara hesitated, but then walked over and sat across from him. The man she saw yesterday was gone. In his place was a more serious, calculating individual. His posture was rigid, and his eyes never left hers as he motioned for her to sit. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," Dylan said, his voice low and calm. "You said you knew who I was, but how?" Dylan took a sip of his coffee, his eyes narrowing slightly as he leaned back in his chair. "I know more about you than you think, Tara." Her stomach dropped. She had no idea where this conversation was going, but something told her she wouldn't like it. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Dylan's gaze softened, almost as if he was trying to read her. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm actually here to help." Tara's brows furrowed. "Help? By paying for my groceries?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed his coffee down and folded his hands in front of him. "There's something you need to understand. The reason I paid for your groceries yesterday is because it was all part of something bigger." Tara head spun. She had no idea what this conversation was going, but something told her she wouldn't like it. "What do you mean, bigger?" Dylan looked around the coffee shop, his expression shifting slightly. "I wasn't just being nice. Tara, I know about your past. Your ex-husband, Victor Montgomery. The reason your life has been so hard recently, it's not just bad luck. There's something that's been weighing on you, and I think it's time you knew the truth." Her heart began to race. She hadn't thought about Victor in a while. The divorce was messy, but she had tried to move on. She had to. "What does Victor have to do with this?" she demanded, her voice now trembling with anger and fear. Dylan leant forward. "Your ex-husband's dealings, they weren't as clean as you thought. In fact, there were some illegal activities going on that you were completely unaware of. Victor was involved in a major financial scam, a laundering operation that spanned several states." Tara felt like the floor was spinning. She gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. "Victor? No, this can't be true. He never mentioned anything like this, and I never saw any signs. He was just always distant, but never dangerous." "I don't believe you," Tara said, shaking her head. "Victor was never involved in anything like that." Dylan's face softened, almost as if he was sorry to have to tell her this. "Tara, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but you need to know that your ex-husband was using your name, your credit, to cover up some of his actions." Tara felt a wave of nausea hit her, as though the floor had been yanked out from under her. All those years of struggle, all the sacrifices she had made were now tainted by the man she once loved. Her ex-husband's illegal activities had somehow entangled her in a web of deceit that she couldn't escape. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What do you want from me?" Dylan's eyes were filled with an intensity that made her nervous. "I'm not the only one looking into your ex-husband's connections. There are others, people who are after the money. And they know you're connected to Victor, so that's why I helped you yesterday, to keep you off their radar." Her mind was racing. She was suddenly trapped between a past she didn't know existed and a future that felt more uncertain by the minute. "What do I need to do? How do I get out of this?"
Dylan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small folder. He slid it across the table toward her. "I've already been doing some digging. I need your help to get to the bottom of this. You're going to have to decide if you want to protect yourself and your kids from whatever's coming." Tara spent the next few hours poring over the papers Dylan had handed her. It was all there. The evidence that Victor had been running a money laundering scheme right under her nose. The transactions, the fake accounts, the entire network of people who had used her name to funnel money through shady deals. Tara's hands shook as she read through everything. Her head felt heavy, like it might explode. But there was one thing that kept nagging at her. How did Dylan know all of this? Dylan had said he was trying to help her, but it was clear there was more to the story. She needed answers. The next day, Tara decided to confront him. She arranged to meet him at a park near the outskirts of Phoenix. This time, she wasn't just looking for help. She was looking for the truth. When she arrived, Dylan was already waiting. His expression was serious, but there was something else in his eyes, something that made Tara uneasy. "What's going on, Dylan?" Tara asked, her voice sharp. "Who are you really, and why should I trust you?" Dylan stood up, his hands in his pockets. "I never wanted you to get involved in this, Tara, but the more I uncovered, the more I realized you were at the center of everything." Tara's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? What are you saying?" Dylan stepped closer, his face inches from hers. "Victor's not the only one you need to be worried about, Tara. There's someone much closer to you, someone you never saw coming, who has been using you this entire time." Tara felt a chill run down her spine. "Who?" But before Dylan could answer, a sharp voice interrupted them from behind. "I think it's time to stop playing games, Dylan." Tara spun around to see Victor himself standing a few feet away, his face cold and unreadable. Second plot twist. Victor had been in on it the whole time. The man she had thought was a victim of his own poor choices had been the mastermind all along. Tara's breath caught in her throat as she faced Victor. The last time she had seen him, he had been a broken man, defeated by his own mistakes. The divorce had been messy, but she never expected something like this, never imagined the depth of the lies he had spun around their life together. You've been part of this all along?" Tara whispered, her voice barely audible as her heart pounded in her chest. "I had to do what I had to do, Tara. I didn't have a choice." Tara shook her head, unable to process what he was saying. "What do you mean you didn't have a choice? All these years, all the struggle, the sacrifice, you used me." Victor's lips twisted into something resembling a smirk. "I never wanted you to know this, but it's too late now. I've already set things in motion. You're caught in the middle, Tara. You've always been caught in the middle." Dylan took a step back, his hands raised in surrender. "Tara, I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this." Tara turned to him, fury in her eyes. "You knew all along, didn't you? You used me, just like him." Dylan's expression softened, but the pain in his eyes was undeniable. "I wasn't using you. I was trying to help you. I knew about the connections, but I didn't know how deep it went until recently. I thought if I helped you, you could get away from it." Tara's mind was racing. She had been tangled up in this mess without even knowing it. She thought she was just a regular, single mom trying to get by. But her life had been manipulated by two men, one she had trusted and one who claimed to be trying to help her. Victor took another step toward her, his voice lowering to a dangerous whisper. "You don't understand, do you, Tara? It's all about the money. Always has been. If you help me now, I can make it all go away. If not, you and your kids will be in even more danger than you are now." The threat hung in the air, chilling Tara to the core. But something inside her snapped. She had spent too long feeling powerless, allowing the men in her life to dictate her future. No more. "No, Victor," she said, her voice steady and full of resolve. "I'm done with this. You're not controlling me anymore." Tara turned to Dylan, her eyes filled with determination. I'm not going to let them use me anymore. I'm taking control of my life, for my kids. Dylan's eyes softened, a hint of relief in his gaze. You're stronger than you realize. But before they could say another word, Tara felt a sudden chill. There was someone else behind them, someone who had been listening. A figure emerged from the shadows, and for a split second, Tara thought it was just a random passerby. But then she recognized him. It was Brandon, a former associate of Victor's, a man she hadn't seen in years, a man she had once been warned about. The air grew heavy, and Tara's blood ran cold as Brandon's menacing figure approached. Victor, Dylan, I think it's time we all have a conversation about what's really going on here. Tara's heart sank. She had no idea what Brandon was doing here, but she knew it wasn't good. The tension in the air was unbearable. Tara stood frozen, caught between Victor's calculating presence and the ominous figure of Brandon. Dylan, too, was on edge, his hand suddenly moving toward his jacket as if preparing for something. "What do you want, Brandon?" Victor asked, his voice tight with restrained anger. "I want what's mine, Victor, and I'm not leaving here without it." Tara felt a wave of panic wash over her. The stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. The entire mess she had unwittingly walked into, Victor's illegal dealings, Dylan's cryptic help, Brandon's involvement, was spiraling out of control. "I don't want any part of this," Tara said, her voice shaking. "You don't have a choice, Tara. You're already involved, whether you like it or not." Brandon took a step forward, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Tara. "We're all part of this now, sweetheart. Your little act of defiance won't change a thing. You've already been marked." Tara's heart pounded. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think clearly. But then something within her shifted. She had to protect her kids. No matter what it took. Without warning, Tara did the one thing she hadn't planned. She ran. Dylan shouted her name, but she didn't look back. She had to make it out, had to get away before it was too late. Her legs burned as she ran through the park, the sound of footsteps behind her echoing in her ears. But just as she neared the exit, a hand grabbed her arm, yanking her to a halt. "Where do you think you're going, Tara?" Brandon's voice was low, filled with malice. For a moment, Tara froze, her breath coming in ragged gasps. But then a voice cut through the tension. "Let her go." Dylan's voice rang out, and Tara turned to see him charging toward them. In that moment, Tara realized something. Dylan wasn't just trying to help her. He had been in the middle of this from the start. He wasn't a knight in shining armor. He had his own agenda. Second twist. Dylan was involved with Brandon, Victor, and the entire operation. Tara had been manipulated once again. The person she thought she could trust had played her, just like the others. Dylan's gaze met hers, and for the first time, Tara saw the truth in his eyes. There were no clear answers, only more lies. And as Brandon's men began to close in, Tara realized she was going to have to make the hardest decision of her life. Stand and fight for her future, or run for her life.